decisions, great mound visits, great job not letting the best player beat you.
This one crushed, out to right field. And it's going to be out of here. Pennsylvania walk-off home run. Travis Devonic sends him to Williamsport.
With the 37th pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Detroit Tigers select Kevin McGonigal, a shortstop from Monsignor Bonner High School, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. Suarez delivers. Swing and a drive. Left field. It's deep. It's going. Yes! And it is gone!
Yes!
It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, his 10th career home run in the postseason. And he may never hit a bigger one.
What is up, Delaware County, and welcome back for episode number 72 of Delco Baseball Now, alongside Ben Thorpe. I'm Brennan Ricciardi. We didn't have too much action this week, with a lot of teams kind of either on spring break or only playing a couple conference games, but we got enough that it was worth bringing everybody in. Happy Easter if you're listening Sunday night. This is being recorded Friday night because we had no other action going on this weekend. But I feel like, Ben, this is kind of like the calm before the storm. Like, this week was the for all of our writers and workers and everybody, just kind of take a deep breath, and then we get the playoff push going.
Yeah. I think we're starting to get into that season of, your rankings and all your standings, and we're starting to get, it feels like the season started just yesterday, but we are starting to get to that back end of things. Little maybe light week, a little bit of a break, and then it's full speed ahead, and we are just cruising into a finish from here.
Yeah, most Central League teams, I would say, are halfway done. I know Haverford's 8-0, Radnor's 7-1, so that's half the 16-game schedule. I know O'Hara's 5-1. They play 12 games, I think. So, most teams are about halfway done, but there's really no breaks from now until, Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's once you kind of have your spring break, and then you're finishing your season one way or another.
Absolutely. All right, let's before we get into things here, a quick word from our good friends over at STS, and we'll get started with the game of the week.
If you love working with kids and making a difference, then Substitute Teaching is the perfect job for you. Substitute Teacher Service is hiring teachers in your area year-round for all positions and levels. A teaching degree is not required. We provide you with all necessary certification and even help you to work towards a full-time teaching position. Great benefits, flexible schedule, a rewarding career. The Subservice is hiring right now in your area. Learn more and apply today at thesubservice.com.
All right, thank you to SCS for being a great sponsor for us, as always. Of course, as a sub, I got to enjoy spring break and have my week off this week. It's bittersweet because you get paid by the day you work. So, I just went a whole week without getting paid, but I also went a whole week without waking up early. So you give and take.
Yeah, I guess you give and take is probably the way to go with that.
Well, DBN made money, but I didn't personally, so I consider that still a win-win.
Yeah.
We're making things happen. But all right, let's dive into the action. Let's start off with our game of the week here. It was our first time ever going to a Del Val game. We went to Chichester and Interboro. Great turnout from both teams in terms of fans. It was a nice day. A lot of Interboro fans behind the plate, kind of down the right field line as well. Real quick, want to give a shout out to both coaches who were super, super welcoming and super happy to have us here, and just trying to bring attention to both of their programs. They were very welcoming, so we appreciate that. Going into the action here, the score of this game was misleading because it was Chichester 7, Interboro 1. But, man, this game was 1-0 up until the 6th when Chichester scored in the 6th, and then they ended up adding on 5 in the 7th. But, this game, it was probably I would say outside of the Haverford Rider game, this was the best pure game that we've gotten this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a lot of it was a lot of low scoring for a while. And Chi kind of just broke it open towards the end there. But, it was a very competitive game. You could tell that there was a lot on the line. Like you said, great turnout. And, it was a really good time.
Yeah, you'll hear from Cole Sanford in this interview a little bit later after we finish talking about the game. But, he kind of talked about how everybody just kind of assumes that because Chichester has not lost a conference game since 2019 that they're never challenged. That's not the case. Interboro has been giving them great games, but Chichester has just figured out how to win. Alex Kester, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, as was Zach Murray. But the story of this game is really Cole Sanford and how he just attacked hitters and pounded the zone. 7 innings, just 3 hits, no earned runs, 7 Ks, did not have a single walk, and only threw 83 pitches. And that included some of the errors in the 7th, that kept the game going for a little bit. Like, he might have been in the 70s in pitches if that didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, he had 2-3 errors right at the end that probably bumped his pitch count up maybe 15 more than it probably should have been. But he looked fantastic, just attacking the zone all day, being able to throw a couple pitches for strikes. He had Interboro's batters looking very off balance the entire time.
And I know you weren't here yet when this happened. Just an electric start to the game where he got thrown out trying for an inside the park home run. I don't think it was the first pitch of the game, but it was the first at bat because he was leading off. And he just, Interboro, at that field, it's not that deep right at the corners, but the gaps are tough. So you put one in the gap, you're running. And, it was kind of hard to see, hindsight's 2020, whether he should have been sent or not. It was a fairly close play at the plate. So if you get the chance to send someone from inside the park homer, do it because it's awesome. And just, hey, starting off the game with a triple either way, but that would have been just a ridiculous way to start a game.
Oh my God. Yeah. That just nuts. I wish I had seen that, but it gets deep out there. We had a couple where it was kind of near inside the park territory.
Yeah, the wind was blowing too, so outfielders, it was tough. But let's go talk about the scoring here. Zach Murray had a triple, and Trevor Goschler RBI ground out made it 1-0. Alex Kester RBI triple, the third triple of the game for Chichester, made it 2-0 in the 6th. The game broke open in the 7th. Matt Johansson had a 2-run single. Zach Murray added a 2-run double, and Alex Kester had an RBI double. So that kind of blew it open. But, Interboro added one on in the last inning on an error. I thought Interboro starter Mike McLaughlin threw really well. 4 innings, I think 3 hits, just 1 earned run, a couple Ks. It didn't seem like the Chi hitters were seeing that 12-6 very well. It was pretty sharp.
No, yeah, it was a bit of an open zone too, I would say. But yeah, he did a really good job mixing between his fastball and that curveball, and they definitely struggled with it. I thought came away really impressed with him.
He trusted in every count. That was the big thing.
Yeah, he threw it no matter what.
Down 2-1 the count, don't care. I'm gonna. And honestly, sharp might not even be the word. It was almost effectively loopy. It had a lot of 12-6 movement, but it almost it was hard to pick up because of that.
Yeah, they definitely struggled to pick it up. I think his ability to throw it at any count did that a lot because you could see he may not have had the same velo as the other guys throwing in that game, but that being able to throw that curveball at any point in time was kind of the big equalizer for him and let him go out and really just pitch a very good game.
Yep. Overall, I come away thinking that Chichester. I think that Cole Sanford threw really well, and if they get a good draw, assuming that they're going to end up going either 11-1 or 12-0, they're going to get the bye. I don't know what seed because I think last year they were the 2. So I'm not sure exactly what seed they'll get, but realistically, they'll probably get a bye. And if he continues to throw strikes and the defense plays well behind him, they can put some pressure on a team who's going to have to throw their number 2 in that game.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think depending on, and it's kind of the same thing of with Chichester as it has been for a few years. You have a good idea of where they're going to end up, and it is can the guy you throw, which I assume in this would be Cole Sanford. Can he get guys out, and are you going to be able to do anything against the pitcher they throw? Which is, I guess, kind of the base thing for any playoff win. But it's more. I guess it's more of a thing because for some of these, for Chichester, it's a little bit more of a question just because they haven't maybe seen teams of that level.
I get what you're trying. Yeah, you're trying to say they don't usually see pitchers of the caliber they'll face in the playoffs.
Yes, yeah. That's how are you gonna? You don't really get a chance to take that step up in the regular season. So how are you gonna do it when it's all on the line?
Well, I know Chi's got some non-conference games to challenge. I think they play Bonner in a couple weeks too, so that'll be a good the week before playoffs. So that'll be a good test. But all right, let's hear our post-game interview. Shout out our guy, David Shapansky, who's done great. He got stuck in Blue Route traffic and couldn't find parking, but he did get to the game in time for the action, really. So let's hear from David Shapansky with our player of the game, Cole Sanford, as well as Chichester head coach Dan Singley.
Welcome back, Delaware County, here with our player of the game, Cole Sanford. 7 innings complete game for Chichester in the win over Interboro. Cole, 7 innings dominant performance today against a rival like Interboro in conference play. How did that feel for you?
Felt great, man. Come out here, play Interboro. Everyone thinks it's just easy, but always a competitive game against them, so felt good to get a nice win.
Offense struggled a little early on. What was the mindset for you continuing to throw up zeros for most of the game there?
Just pound the zone and trust my defense behind me because I know they can make plays.
57 consecutive wins for you guys in conference play. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for the team?
It means that we just keep winning, man. Even seniors graduate every year, but we just keep winning, keep playing the same game we always play.
One more question for you, Cole. Talked to your head coach the other day about favorite ice cream flavor. Okay, I'm not going to tell you his. I will in a second, but what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
I'm going to have to go cookies and cream.
That's a great option. That is the top. Do you want to guess what your coach said?
I'm guessing he said the same thing?
He said Chunky Monkey, Ben and Jerry's. All right. I think the team deserves, and especially you do for your pitching performance, a lot of ice cream. So,
yeah, I think the same thing.
Congratulations on the win. Thanks, Cole. Appreciate it. Thanks. Hello, Delaware County. Welcome back. You're here with Chichester head coach, Coach Singley. Coach, how are you doing today, buddy? Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And kids played their butts off today. That's all we can ask for.
Coach, 57 consecutive wins in conference play for Chichester. What does that mean for the program, and how did this win help you guys today in continuing what has been a dominant conference schedule over the past couple of years?
Kids doing what the coaches ask, and on a daily basis get better every day, and keep improving, and don't be satisfied. Keep winning. Keep it going.
I want to talk about Cole Sanford's dominant pitching performance today. 7 innings, goes a complete game, 7 strikeouts at the end of the day. What impressed you the most about him today?
He's just grit. He's got the grit that most kids don't have, and just proud of him in terms of hitting that triple to lead us off and getting us going that way, and then coming on the mound and shutting things down, which is phenomenal on his part. He's a heck of a player. He's going to do well at the next level, and I'm looking forward to watching him play this year and next year.
Coach, I know when we talked yesterday that you really said the youth of the team and how there was a lot of young stars kind of coming onto the scene. How much did your young stars really factor into this game today, and what did you like from your younger players on the team, not just in today's game but really throughout the entire season?
Yeah, we had a tough schedule last year. We played the best that's out there. We try to do that every year, and we went over their heads a little bit last year, but now this year it's paying off, and we're ready for whatever comes our way, and to see those guys grow. And we have a little bit of mistakes in the 7th inning there, and it doesn't bother them. And they just move on, or tell them to be like an eagle, let that water just roll right off.
I like that. You got to get that on a shirt, I think. Last question for you, Coach. When you look at the rest of the season for you guys, how do you feel the team is playing now in April and as we head to the latter part of April and for the rest of the games?
I think they're coming into their own. The growth is really there, and it's great to see. And it was a close game all the way to the end there. The 6th inning, the 7th inning, we tacked on some, and that was the growth that we saw. We see good pitching, good Interboro team, and great competition all the time. Games are close all the time. It's always a battle between us, and our kids just come alive. It's awesome.
Well, Coach, I did lie to you. I have one more question for you. Ben and Jerry's ice cream. You have to get at least one Chunky Monkey tonight for this win.
That's maybe a two Chunky Monkeys. We'll see.
I definitely like it. Thank you so much, Coach. Congrats on the win. Good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. And hey, go Eagles! Right? Once an Eagle, always an Eagle.
All right, great interviews. Coach Singley's as Delco as it gets right there. I toss in the Go Eagles, Go Birds in at the end there. You got the Eagles on, so you're ready to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can tell why why the players play for him and why he has so much respect there. Won his 100th game last year, so I'm excited to see how these guys continue to go. All right, let's move into the Central League. And Ben, I think this is really the first time we've talked about them, but the Conestoga Pioneers are on fire.
Yeah, they are killing it right now. It's, I think, 5 straight wins.
After an 0-5 start.
Yeah, that's after a really tough start. I think we kind of talked about them and how they've had a lot of talent, but maybe we're just kind of struggling with a lot of new pieces, new coach, new everything. And clearly, I think they've started to get a little bit more comfortable, and things look like they're clicking right now.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a senior at Strathaven, I think we started 1-4, and then we won like 8 or 9 in a row. So it's definitely it's almost as much mental as it is physical, because like when you look at that team, I mean, we almost had them in the power rankings before the season started, because like there's talent there. And just kind of figuring out what's your best 9 and who are your best options on the mound. But you got to give credit to, new head coach Anthony Greco. Like in your first year, you start 0-5, 0-4 in the conference, to be able to, most importantly, just keep everyone together, keep everyone believing that, hey, like, we're going to right this ship. We have the talent here. The balls just aren't bouncing our way right now, but we need to just, continue just to stay focused and stay positive, and know that, hey, like, 0-4 in the conference sucks. You're 25% done your conference season, right? Especially in a bracket as big as 6A, like 8-8. I think Ridley was 8-8 last year and they got in. So you just kind of have to regroup, just say, hey, like, slow things down. I think when they won a couple games, they had played like Upper Darby, Springfield, Harriton, like they were winning the games they should win. Beating Strathaven was like hey, like, we're back and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think so too. That was obviously was against Ancona, which I guess doesn't really take away from it too much. But yeah, I think that's that first like really good quality win that they have. You look at the other games and it's probably games they should win. But that one I think is the one where it's like, okay, like we can, we're competitive with these teams. Like we can beat these guys, and they dominated that game. It's I think it's
10-2,
really
yeah.
good.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like if I was a player on Stoga, like you win those first 3 games, and again, you win any game, it's important and it means something. But that was like the first time where they beat, the team that's been the 2-time defending conference champ, right? The team that was in the state championship 2 years ago. That was a 10-2 win. James Queasy went 3 for 4. Cooper Evers homered, Luke Hunter homered, and also threw 5 2/3. He's going to be one of the best players in the Central League. And I mean, he's obviously playing really well right now, but the next 2 years, I mean, just purely based on the eye test alone, very, very big kid. And it seems like, I think Henry Melrose was the Stoga pitcher who hasn't thrown this year because of injury. He's really stepped up Luke Hunter to be that like number 2 pitcher besides Henry Fuerst, which we'll talk about in a sec. Chase Sherney went 2 for 3 in that game. Chase Ransonen also had a couple hits, he drove in 2 runs, as did Sherney. Just a really great team win from top to bottom. But an O'Hara, I'm going to say that one again. An O'Hara win the next day. To go out there on the road, win just a roller coaster of a game. And both teams were playing and throwing a lot of their guys. And Fuerst threw 4 innings with 1 earned run. Queasy had another hit. How about Kurt Tharnish? We got another Tharnish brother in the mix here for Stoga. He went 2 for 2 with the triple. Sounds about right. And might be one of my new favorite names in Delco baseball, Finn Nieberly for Conestoga. Went 1 for 3 and drove in a run.
Yeah, heck of a job. A lot of guys stepping up there.
Yeah, but I'd put in the article and I saw Kurt Tharnish and I'm assuming related in some way to Jace, and then Jace DM me. He's like, yeah, that's my brother. I'm like, I figured it was, because like you can always assume brother, but we had 2 Mutzes on my Haven team and they were cousins. So you never really know. But just super impressed with them. The offense has just been red hot. They've scored, I think I have it written somewhere, in their last couple of games. Yeah, they've scored 9, 13, 10, and 10 in their last 4 games. So that's going to play.
Yeah, they're swinging it really well.
Henry Fuerst, 1.59 ERA in 22 innings. Luke Hunter's at 3.4. They've thrown about half the team's innings, so I'm curious. Max Brown is 3rd in innings and has a 3.62 ERA. Really curious, I'm sure at some point their depth will be tested more in pitching, and I'm curious without Henry Melrose, like who that's going to be. But offensive-wise, James Queasy was a second-team All-Delco outfielder first last year. He's got 1169 OPS, so it feels like he could even take that jump to first team this year. Cooper Evers, 918. Luke Hunter's 937. Luke Hunter could be threatening for one of those 2-way spots there. But just, I mean, as you can talk about on-the-field talent as much as you want, but the fact that they were able to just keep it together after 0-5 and are right back in the mix, maybe not to win the conference 4 games back at Haverford, but to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a fantastic job from coaching the players to just everyone all around to after a tough start like that, get yourself back into contention. And obviously maybe the league's a little bit out of reach this year. I don't think it's unfair to say that, but playoffs certainly aren't. And when you're hot, and you get in there and get a chance to make a run.
Yep. All right, let's move on here. We'll real quickly just have our weekly Haverford segment because they just don't lose. They took down Springfield 5-1. It feels like a lot of their games, they're not really always like blowing people out, but they win comfortably. 5-1. They have a couple 7-2 wins. Like games where the scoreboard might tell you it's in reach, but like the way their pitchers are pitching, like it feels like it's out of reach.
Yeah, it's definitely a. It seems like they do a really good job of like getting ahead and just like, all right, like it's over, we're done. Like
put pressure on you, yeah.
Yeah, like we've taken a pretty good lead. Like you're not getting anywhere close to this. That's kind of been their MO this entire year.
Yep, this game, Jimmy Boyle, 4 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, and 7 Ks. Nick Elvanian continued a great year, 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. How about Ben Ishmael in the 9 spot, going 2 for 2? You look at some of the numbers. When we talk to Coach Brian Miller, who might be going for a second straight Coach of the Year award, who might add. When we talk to Brian Miller, he's like, listen, like, not being arrogant. He's like, we know we're going to pitch well. We know we're going to field well. Can we hit well? Last year, he said, as a team, they hit just 250. As a team, they're hitting 275 this year. That's a big jump when you talk about top to bottom on the team. And you look around the lineup, Ryan Cassidy looks like he's going to be a first-team All-Delco, hitting 448 with a 1349 OPS.
Jesus.
Nick Elvanian's at 375 with a 980 OPS. Jimmy Boyle's hitting 345. Sam Sturman, who wasn't necessarily expecting to start and play as much as he has, 321. Shane Durkin, if you want to call it, a down year, I mean, he's hitting 290, with an 850 OPS, and Cam McCormick's right around there too. So I think Ryan Cassidy, if you want to call it like the star power on the offense, but everyone else has just been like, I'd just say above average to really good,
Yeah, it's been 1 through 9. Like it sounds super like hard to get out. Like just
that's a good way
really
to
good at bats, grind it out. A lot of speed, just a lot of. I mean, I feel like they were pretty aggressive with like everything they did. Just a really strong team right now, playing really good baseball. They've been a lot of fun to follow.
Yep. All right, well, let's move on to the team that lost to them. That was their only loss of the year so far, and that was Radnor. They've rebounded about as well as you possibly could have asked since that Haverford loss. They've won 4 in a row. A very impressive week from them because due to the fact that they were down, I'm blanking if it was Florida or South Carolina. They were down south and, kind of got behind in their Central League games. They now played 3 games in 3 days this week, and they won all 3. So they took down on Monday, they took down Lower Merion, a really good win. Austin Havertine, 7 innings, just 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts. Daniel Kellis, he can swing it too. 3 for 3, 2 runs. Kyle Miltenberger drove in 2. So did Will Selbach. And Matt Sacholsky drove in a run as well. So, that's a big win against a Lower Merion team that was, I think if Lower Merion had won, they would have been tied for second place because they would have both had 2 losses if that was the case. They beat your Springfield guys. Credit to the Cougars for fighting in that one. It was a walk-off winner for Joe Krasowski, but you got to be happy with how they looked in that one.
Yeah, they've had a couple of tough ones so far. It's been a competitive, but maybe like I think it's been a very competitive year. It just hasn't really shown itself on the scoreboard and the standings. So yeah, I'm proud of those guys for fighting. Obviously, they're a really young team this year, and they had a brutal week just scheduling wise of playing. I mean, I guess how it worked out, ended up with playing number 1 on Monday or Tuesday and number 2 the next day. And being able to be and they were competitive in both games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
a lot of credit.
Combined 7-2, I guess, in those games.
I think they lost 4 or 5-1 and then 2-1. It was 2 really good competitive games against the 2 for what it's worth or what we think like the 2 best teams in the county. So a lot to be proud of there.
Yeah, Kyle Miltenberger, 2 for 3. Teddy Monahan drove in a run. The important thing, most importantly, the impressive part for Radnor this week is, when you have 3 straight conference games in 3 straight days, you need your pitchers to be able to go deep into games. And then, in the Lower Merion game, Havertine threw all 7. In the Springfield game, Ryan McWilliams threw all 7. So now you've only used 2 pitchers in 2 days, and that was just huge for them. They played Pencrest on Wednesday. Daniel Kellis threw 5 hitless innings, and Blake Havertine closed it out. Austin Havertine, 2-run inside the park home run. I'm not sure if the fences. I don't think the fences are up at Pencrest. It didn't look like it in the game changer I watched. But either way, it was an inside the park home run for a pitcher. That's just electric. I know he wasn't pitching that game, but that's still electric.
We had one of the kids I coached down at Anderson had a walk off inside the park home run.
That's awesome. Like a legit fenced inside the Parker.
No. Like it's, again, like zero fence and just hit it over everyone's head.
Just lay it out.
That's tough, man. You got Pencrest has the fence too. Just put it up.
They had it last year at the game I was at, so I'm not sure. It didn't look like it was up at least, but. In this game, Matt Sacholski went 2 for 2. He had a triple. Evan Hartman and Zach Fine drove in runs. So did Teddy Monahan and Will Selbach. It looks like Zach Fine has no interest in getting taken off the first team All Delco list because he's hitting 385 with a 10-10 OPS. Teddy Monahan's hitting 333. We talk about Daniel Kellis as having potential professional upside on the mound, but he's having a great year at the plate. He's hitting 381. With a 935 OPS. Shout out Matt Sacholski coming off a torn ACL. I've never torn my ACL. I know what it's like to have a brutal injury to try and come back from. So to be able to hit 296 with that, 980 OPS is super impressive. And I feel like he's one of those guys. I don't really know him, but maybe didn't think he was going to play baseball in college because he missed his whole junior year. But maybe someone scoops him up late, because he's having such a good year. But yeah, it's super impressive to win. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care where you're playing. When 3 games in 3 days in the conference is great, and only needing 4 pitchers to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it speaks to the depth that's on that team. Especially at the position of pitcher, having Havertine and McWilliams, and we've seen them, go out and go complete games a lot of times now. Actually, not a surprising amount of times, but a pretty impressive amount of times. It's great. Leaves them in a really good spot for that last one. Go take care of business. They look like, took a slight step back against the Haverford game, but it's, right back to it. They've bounced back well. They look really good, dangerous. And I mean, they're going to be with especially with the pitching depth, they are going to be a really tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if they, continue this trajectory, they'll probably get one of the top 4 seeds and get the bye. So now all of a sudden you're getting, at this point, I'd assume Havertine would start the first game of the playoffs. If you just win that game against, someone else's number 2, then you're at the very least in the state's playback game, right? Because then you win that game after the bye, you're in the semis. At that point, it would either be, Kellis or McWilliams. If you lose that game, then you get Havertine again to pitch in the state playback game. So they're going to put themselves in a really good spot to make some noise in the playoffs. And I think at this point, I feel pretty good saying that I think they're at least going to make states. What happens from there, who knows? But I think they'll be a top 3 team in that 5A bracket. And with obviously their goals are a lot higher than that.
Yeah. I mean, it is about halfway through the year. It's a little bit tough to I don't want to get way too ahead, but we've seen, in the 2-3 years we've done this, we've seen our fair share of teams make pretty good state runs. And I would say these guys, and it's a little different at 6A, but them and Haverford both look a lot like those teams that we saw make the runs.
Yep. All right, let's wrap up the Central League here with talk a little Garnet Valley, because Ryan McGee has been awesome. I think Garnet Valley has really needed someone to embody that ace role, and he's thrown 28 innings this year. Nobody else on the team has more than 16. He's thrown back-to-back starts with 0 earned runs. He threw 6 shutout against Strathaven, and then this week he threw a complete game, 2 hits, no earned runs, 9 Ks versus Pencrest. He's got a 2.25 ERA so far this year, and it kind of feels like that's what they've been missing. But I also want to give a quick shout-out to a sophomore, Dylan Orr, who's thrown 12 1/3 shutout innings in relief. I think he might have started a little, but I think more in relief. And it feels like, Garnet Valley having someone that they can really consider an ace can go a long way.
With the offense they have, I think that's, that was for the past couple of years. I think that last piece of having a bona fide ace I know Nick Gordon was really good in past years. It seems like McGee is having a little bit better year than he had. And just to have that like certified like 1-1 to go and step up and throw your big games is going to go a long way. And a long way towards, giving your bat some confidence and maybe like freeing up that to like, hey, like we can kind of go take our hacks, do everything. Like we'll score runs and, we're not going to have to worry about like, I guess, scoring a million runs now. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just go do our thing.
And I think that, the one thing that can kind of stop a great offense is being down like 8-0 in the third where the pressure starts kind of coming on you that you have to hit. Like these guys, their pitching is letting their offense wake up. Chris Schaller had 2 hits and RBI. Harrison Mull stayed hot. He had a hit and 2 RBIs. Zach Gordon went 2 for 3. That's freshman starting catcher Zach Gordon, who we're, again, assuming is related to Nick Gordon, either brother or cousin. He went 2 for 3 with an RBI. So I think Garnet, our new intern, Mark Zuppo, was kind of like jokingly giving me crap. He's like, yeah, like we're always just in the power rankings in like the 6 to 8 range. Like not saying we don't deserve it. He's just like every week last year, even when like we felt we deserved it or we did, like we were just always 6 to 8. I'm like, I think you're right.
They just are like that's just.
And he's like, it's not a bad, like, it's good to always be in it. Like 6 is not bad, especially when it's a bunch of different conferences. But the way he's like, like we were just always like 6, 7, or 8. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, they're going to continue to be somewhere around there. I think that's just where they're at in terms of things. I feel like we might have bumped them up kind of high a couple, maybe towards the end of last year.
I feel like 5 at some point.
We might have bumped them to because but. Yeah, they really are. They've been, since we've done the power rankings, they've been 1 in them and then 2 just like in that 6 to 8.
I feel like
that's just where they are.
All right, let's move into the PCL here. A good week overall for Bonner. They lost just a heartbreaker to LaSalle. They were down 4-0. They came back and then they lost in the top of the 7th. LaSalle scored a run, but they rebounded. They beat I think it's Appoquinimink. This is one of the hardest to spell if you've ever seen it before. It's a school in Delaware. I think they played it at University of Delaware, which is cool. They played under the lights. But the big win for the week was beating Devon Prep in a walk-off. They beat them 5-4 because I'll tell you what, there's the biggest difference in the world between 3-4 and 2-5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one. I think someone was talking about, I forget, I saw it on Twitter. So someone was talking about like the like what's the biggest and smallest 20-point lead in San
Antonio? Oh, it was during the Bulls and Heat game.
Was that it?
Yeah.
That kind of feels the same, like not the same way, but it's kind of like 2 and 5 is like a 3 and 4. You're kind of in it. Like,
it's like that meme where it's like the flirting versus harassment.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we're at here. But I got to give a shout out to Johnny Ortega because he didn't start this game, but he threw 5 shutout innings of relief. Devin was leading 4-1 when Danny Buxton came out. And, I think I've said something like this on the show before, but the offense always gets the credit in a comeback, but Johnny Ortega with 5 shutout innings to not allow Devin to build on that lead was awesome. Any college coaches listening, now that Limestone's closing, Johnny's back on the market. So, he could certainly help you out. Jack Brown had a sac fly and Sergio Hernandez had a single to make it 4-3. When Devin was up 4-1 in the 5th. Clutch 2-out single from Gavin Dorita tied it up at 4 in the 6th. But Bonner actually had the bases loaded with 1 out in the bottom of the 7th. They couldn't convert. But in the 8th, Cole Romano was hit by a pitch. Courtesy runner Josh Collado came in. He stole second. He came to third on a wild pitch, which is a big difference because, and I said it in the article, Joey Graziani kind of pulled like a Carlos Ruiz World Series Game 3. It's like a little – I would say it hit a little harder than that, but like it was like a slow roller down the third base line. And it was a good play by the third baseman. The throw was a little high. I think he would have beat it out regardless. But, sometimes like when things like Bonner haven't been going your way, like that's something that can help turn it around.
Yeah, definitely. That was we've been saying a little bit about all their wins, but it was a very much needed one. Great job from Johnny Ortega to come in and shut it down. I hope everything works out with his college. He's a fantastic pitcher, and deserves to be somewhere at the next level. It's tough with I feel like a lot of smaller schools are closing now, just because of different financial situations, and it can be tough, but hopefully finds a good place to play. But yeah, overall for Bonner, like just another good gritty win. They seem to be kind of making that a little bit of a habit now, and playing everyone really close. So it's hopefully they just keep it rolling.
Yeah. We're seeing Corey Sheridan DH. I'm not sure what his timetable is. I hope we get to see him pitch this year. It'll be a shame if he had to sit out like the state playoffs last year, and then we don't get to see him pitch in the playoffs again this year. That'll be a bummer. But yeah, no, it's good that they're still in the mix at 3-4. But I'll tell you what, those Cardinal O'Hara Lions sitting at 5-1 are the talk of the PCL right now. They did lose to Conestoga on Tuesday, back and forth game, but in their only conference game, they went on the road and they beat Archbishop Ryan 4-3. I'll tell you what, Jay Campuzano's got to be careful, because if he keeps swinging like that, he's not going to be in the bench mob anymore. He hit a go-ahead homer in the top of the 8th that ended up winning the game. Another solid start from Adam Schreiber, 4 2/3, just 2 hits, 1 run, and 6 Ks, or at least 1 earned run. Brennan Till, 2 for 5, just another day at the office. Thomas Flynn has really been hitting the crap out of the ball at the bottom of the order, 2 for 2 with 2 walks as well and a triple. In this game, O'Hara was up 3-1 in the 6th. Then Ryan scored twice. But I think O'Hara's game on Monday versus Lansdale Catholic got canceled. I'm guessing their field just wasn't ready from the rain. And Jack Quinn, who would have started that game, was now available in relief for this game. He threw the final 3 innings, also went 3 for 4. But when I was watching this stream, I thought they were dead, because Ryan in the bottom of the 7th had bases loaded, no outs. And instead of just folding, Jack Quinn got a grounder to Campuzano at 3rd, who fired home, then to 1st. So they got a double play and then a strikeout. So what I'm sitting there like, oh, this is your toast, right? Like they were somehow, and that's like the win you get when you're getting that like Team of Destiny vibe, where like everything's going right. Like you get out of that bases loaded, no outs jam. Like they had to win that game.
Yeah, when it's good, it's good. Like that was, and just getting out something like that. That's when you got the baseball gods on your side a little bit. It's huge win for them. It was a way to bounce back after a tough loss to St. Joe's Prep last week, tough loss to Stoga. Fantastic overall win. And Campuzano was the guy who kind of passed that question on. So
yeah,
he might not.
I want to be on.
He might be the one who like, hey, maybe I do want to get in the lineup.
Yeah, that's like
now he's been doing very well.
That's like I want to play, but also if I'm on the bench, I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah, of course.
I think that's all I had with. Oh, the last thing I wanted to add with Bonner is that, or with O'Hara, is that they're 4A, and it's actually a tough year because they're 4A, so now they have to be the best of Ryan, Wood, and Egan, who are all like pretty high up in the standings. Now, the question I have is, so say for example, like O'Hara and Ryan both make the semis on opposite sides of the bracket, and they both lose. Do those two teams like play for the spot, or do they go whoever's like the higher seed? Because I don't know.
So
we've only ever had Bonner, and they were
So the first thing, I think it would depend on how many bids District 12 gets.
I figured it'd just be one, but you're right. They might have more bids in different levels.
If District 12 has more bids, then maybe they can get it. It wouldn't really matter. But I would imagine it would either go to like a head-to-head or just the conference record.
Yeah, my guess would be whoever's the higher seed.
Yeah, I would think.
That would be my guess. Yeah.
I would assume so too. I forget exactly. I looked up how it works. I think they had that before, because there was like when we were looking at like the situations last year where teams would have, obviously Bonner was in a pretty simple spot for a long time.
Bonner could have gone 0-12 and they still would have been last year.
But I was looking at how that worked with that.
Well,
it's either record or head to head, something like that.
Well, funny, I just said that. That's where Roman is right now. Like they're going to be, as long as if they lose to the Philly Public League team, doesn't matter. But like someone from District 1 will likely play Roman in the first round, and that's a game where, based on how Roman has played this year, like that's a very, very winnable game.
Yeah. Well, even if they lose to District 12, they can. If they lose to the Pub team, they're still in. The Pub and the PCL both get. District 12 gets 2 bids.
Oh, okay. So it's just a matter of who play. Okay, got it.
Yeah, 5 and 6 they get 2.
Got it.
But it's your top PCL and your top pub in that will play each other in like
I guess I was just focused on the top PCL just because they were on our side of the the state, like they would play District 1
it's
team.
the top District 12, but let's be real, it's always the PCL.
Yeah. All right, well let's move into the Interact here. We'll talk about that a little bit. Episcopal's starting to kind of show some life. They're starting to get back into form. They came back and they beat Marple Newtown 8-4. Multi-hit games from JD Amoroso, Spencer Shue, and Jake Verbitsky, Jake Verbitsky had 2 triples this week. Charlie Smith threw 4 shutout innings in that game. Logan Carell also drove in a run, and Dylan Walls closed it out. That's a little revenge in the Battle of Newtown Square, because for anyone that remembers, Aiden Henley hit a walk-off homer for Marple in that game last year. So a little bit of revenge for Episcopal here in that Battle of Newtown Square. But the real win for them this week was they beat Springside Chestnut Hill 4-3. Just monster day at the plate from Reggie King. He went 3 for 3, also had a walk and a sac fly. So that's 5 productive at bats right there. Dylan Walls had 2 hits and 2 walks. Spencer Shue drove in 2 runs. How about Baxter Shue getting in the mix, driving in a run? Again, we're assuming brothers here. Awesome name. I don't know anyone named Baxter, but that's awesome. Jake Verbitsky tripled. Great pitching. Hunter West 5 innings, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. Roman Notaro came up huge with 4 shutout innings of relief, and it was the bottom of the 8th. Could have been the 9th. It might have been the 9th. Reggie King got the walk-off sac fly. That it was a pretty close play at the plate. Like, I think if they called him out, I don't think it would have been like an uproar. I thought he was safe, but it was close enough that like the Springside players were not thrilled. It's 50-50, but either way, good win for Episcopal. Get on the board in the Interact at 1 and 2, and just kind of try and get the ball rolling a little bit. They play Haverford on Tuesday. So that'll be a big game for both of them because, we'll talk about here, Haverford's 0-3 in the Interact right now. And that's, if you want to call it a must-win game for Haverford, I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one, I think, that for EA. I mean, huge to get the first one on the board and hopefully take that momentum and keep going for Haverford. They're going to need that. Obviously, I don't think the league title is probably in the cards for them this year. But you want to stay in that mix, so
I think everyone I think everyone in the Interact makes the bracket. It doesn't matter where. Real quick, just wanted to talk about Haverford. It's been a weird year. I think they're 5-9 overall and 0-3 in the Interact. They obviously challenged themselves with the non-conference schedule. The thing that I'm most puzzled about is they were supposed to be, an offensive-driven team that kind of had some inexperienced pitching. But this week, they only scored 2 runs across 2 games total. They lost just 2-0 to Malvern, and they lost 6-2 to Germantown. Got to give a shout-out to Owen Murphy, who's, I think, one of the top recruits in the freshman class. He's been getting big innings, for Haverford. He threw a 1-2-3 inning against Malvern. He started the Germantown game, went 3 1/3 with just 1 earned run and 4 Ks. He's a big kid. He's throwing, I think I saw on Twitter, maybe around like 86, 87 as a freshman. So he's going to be one of the best pitchers in Delco as he continues to develop. He's throwing really well right now. Jaden Rivera, right near the top of that Offensive Player of the Year or MVP. He's got 6 homers. And, for anyone that wants to say, oh, Haverford's field small, well, Germantown's isn't. And that's where he homered on Thursday. So
he did not miss that one either.
Yeah, I don't think their stats are public, so I'm not sure what he's at, but I imagine it's pretty high overall in terms of average, and I'm sure the OPS looks pretty good. But yeah, I think Haverford is going to be very good in the next 2 years. I think this year was, they're kind of hey, we lost our top 3 pitchers, we lost our best hitter, we lost our coaching staff. Just kind of reset. Like Jacob Horowitz will be back, Owen Murphy will be a year older, so will both Lawler brothers. I think they have a very strong core, and then this is kind of one of those things where, when they're very good in the next few years, they'll look back and say, hey, this was like the growing year,
Yeah, definitely. I think we're seeing right now maybe a little bit more of an inexperienced team, maybe a team that's lost more than it's used to. Well, I'm going from one year to another, talent-wise, lost more than it normally loses. I think they're just, maybe struggling a little bit and starting to press a lot, especially offensively. That can, when you're, a little bit younger, a little more inexperienced. You tend to, when things aren't going well, like really try and go out and press and be and overly aggressive. And that can come back to bite you. I think we're seeing that right now. And, getting a win under the belt, especially in the Interact, would be really good for them. We'll see, who it comes against. It'll come. I think that there's too much talent there for it to not. I think for now, you just try and keep taking positives of your pitching staff was a little bit iffy to start the year. All those guys seem like they're really settling in. They're really starting to be able to get outs consistently in the zone, everything. So I think you take that positive and just let the offense kind of calm itself down and just get back to doing what it does best.
Yep. All right, let's we'll go into our power rankings here, but real quick, we got a word from our good friends over at the Longen Group. It's an insurance company that offers insurance solutions and risk management strategies for businesses, individuals, and families tailored to meet your unique needs. You can buy insurance anywhere, but at Longen Group, we build a relationship with you and advise you as your needs evolve so that you can stay protected. They offer homeowners insurance, auto insurance, life insurance, business insurance, especially for contractors. If you're an electrician, plumber, HVAC painter, any type of contractor, give Charlie a call, 610-724-9717. That's 610-724-9717. He'll take calls during business hours, but after work, you might not be able to catch him. He'll be calling pitches for Friends Central, but give Charlie a call. We're working on getting some event insurance from him right now, so take our word for it here. But let's get into the power rankings, Ben. We got a little bit of a shakeup this week. It's definitely, definitely at the top, we'll obviously, get a lot of the same stuff. We got Haverford staying at number 1, 11-0, giving us no reason to move him down. Very well-routed group. Radnor, I believe overall, I think they're 8-1, but 7-1 in the Central League. The top 2 teams are the really only no debates whatsoever. I think we can agree that those two are to just set it and forget it. And after that, it kind of starts to get more complicated. We're keeping Bonner at 3. I think that they've shown, some they were hurt early on. Sergio Hernandez is back. Mike Lewanski's back. Corey Sheridan's at least hitting. Hopefully we can get him on the mound soon. We got Strathaven at 4. Luke Dancona is expected to return soon. So hopefully we're not going to, we're going to see the Strathaven pitching staff at full form. Number 5, we're staying with Lower Merion. They lost, tough game to Radnor on Monday, but, Brian and Justin Heck have both been outstanding, and the lineup is overall hitting very well. Number 6 is O'Hara. I think they've only been at 9 so far, but they've certainly earned the right to be up here. They're 5-1 in the PCL. They're, I forget what I think maybe 5-4 or something overall, but they're playing their best when the games mean the most. Brennan Till, Player of the Year candidate. Jack Quinn has been awesome on the mound and has been hitting the ball as well. Garter Valley at 7. We talked about how they're always in that range.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's your spot there. It's not a bad spot to be in whatsoever. Number 8, welcome Conestoga to the list here. Conestoga making their first appearance here. 5 straight wins. If it's power rankings, you got to talk about power. Obviously they did beat O'Hara, but not a conference game, which obviously means a little bit. And the fact that O'Hara just has a stronger full season track record. But right now, no one wants to face Conestoga. And 9th on this list, welcome back Episcopal. I believe they started at maybe 8 or 9 to begin the year. They're back in the list here. Beating Marple certainly helps. Beating Chestnut Hill absolutely helps. Welcome back Episcopal to the list. It was tough. Last year, Marple and the Haverford School were 2 of our best teams. Obviously, this year, kind of trying to rebuild from all the seniors they lost. Wouldn't be surprised if they're back in, but right now these are the 9 teams playing the best.
Yeah. I feel good about this list. We definitely had maybe not long conversation, but definitely had a conversation about where to go with this. We were stuck with where Haverford and Marple were definitely like considered pretty heavily to get in. You know, it was a lot of, well, yeah, who do we thought was the most deserving? Who do we think's playing the best baseball? And it feels like, you know, when you look at that, like playing the best baseball context, no one's playing much better than Conestoga right now, short of, I don't know, Haverford and Radnor probably.
Yeah.
So I think they've earned the right to be on there. There's a big one coming up for them this week against Marple, where that's probably going to be for whoever wins that. Well, you know, if Conestoga wins that, they'll either retain their spot, or if Marple wins, they'll get that spot back.
Yeah.
And you could say the same thing with Haverford and EA. So
That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
So two really big games next week. Two really big games in a week of a lot of really big games.
Yeah.
So a lot to look forward to.
Yep. All right, let's go into our players of the week here. We'll start off with our hitter of the week. We saw him in person. That's Zach Murray from Chichester, or as David Shapansky would say, Murray. He's got that. He's got that like Merrill Reese, like just the Philly, because Dave's not Delco. He's Philly, he's from Philadelphia. So he's got that Murray. Zach Murray went 5 for 8. He had a triple. He drove in 5 runs on the week. I think in our game he had a triple. I think he drove in 2 runs. They also beat Delco Christian on Monday and it had a couple more RBIs in that game. Pitcher of the week we got from Garnet Valley. It's Ryan McGee. 7 shutout innings, 2 hits, and 9 strikeouts in a win over Pencrest. So congratulations to both those guys. I promise next year we will have a reward. We're going to find somebody, pizza place, cheesesteak place, somebody to give the players of the week their reward. I promise you that.
It's another call to potential sponsors here.
Yep.
Yeah, get your name on this.
Ben, we got a new segment this week here. We're bringing in the question of the week. So Dave on the broadcast does his own like non-baseball question. I think this week was favorite ice cream flavor, as we saw in the interview. But ours are gonna be specifically baseball. So we're gonna talk here real quick. Question of the week: what is the best rivalry in Delco baseball?
Are you expecting?
I'm curious. I'm curious your thoughts. I'll give my thoughts as well.
Ooh. Best rivalry. So
it's not always just this, like football rivalries are different,
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like one where like guys really dislike each other.
I'll go first. My biased answer is Strathaven and Marple, because both these teams have just been very, very good for the last, call it decade and a half, if not longer than that. Just from my own experience, just playing in those games they just felt bigger. Just so much talent on the field on both sides. 2 programs that, I mean, we don't love each other, but in terms of schools, like I would consider Pencrest, Strathaven's biggest just rival, just in all sports, just in school in general. Rival, the Media Bowl, but just in baseball, I'll say that. But I would say, Haverford School and Episcopal is definitely a big one.
That's a really good one. That might be my pick.
Yeah, I would say that, and a perfect segue in here to our game of the week. There's a reason that there's the rivalry question. I can't say that word, rivalry question. That word's been bullying me for years now. Rivalry question. We are headed to Bonner and O'Hara on Thursday, and to be completely transparent, we had O'Hara and Carroll as a game of the week earlier in the year to get some PCL coverage because we weren't sure that any of the O'Hara or Carroll were going to be able to challenge Bonner this year. And we wanted to get some PCL love because then we got Bonner and Marple for the same reason. We wanted to get Bonner on and didn't know, when we went to the Carroll game last year, it was a blowout. But O'Hara has certainly, proved us wrong. And they're going to be, obviously they'll both play games earlier in the week before then. But this game means a lot for both of them. And when we put that poll on Instagram of what is the best Delco baseball rivalry, shout out the burner account that said me versus lefty sliders. They're not wrong. A little rude, but not wrong. It was Tyler Dunbar who said your changeup versus hitters, in case you were wondering who that was.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But Bonner and O'Hara by far had the most votes. Strathaven Marple had a lot too. Harrison Lower Merion actually had a lot of votes as well.
So the issue was it's in Delco. That's a very unique one where it's like you can, because a lot of kids there have the choice of going to.
They do.
There's a lot riding on those games.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that's a really good one. For when I was playing at Springfield, like Marple and Strathaven were always really big games for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's.
I wish Harrison Lower Merion played more than once a year.
Yeah,
because once the 5A, 6A.
Yeah, underrated one. It's not as much baseball, but you do see a little bit like Chi in Sun Valley. I feel like is always
I got a couple of votes. Also, Ridley and Interboro because of football. But so we'll be headed there. That'll be Thursday at 4:00. Hopefully, the phone service at O'Hara wasn't great. I know that. The audio never cut out. I think the video at times is a bit choppy. Hopefully, we'll be able to have a better day there. Who knows? But either way, we'll be there for that game. So I'm excited. to get to that. But I believe that's all we have for today. I hope everyone that celebrates is having a nice Easter weekend. This is going to be obviously out Sunday night. This is Friday night, so we wanted to make sure we got something for all of our baseball sickos out there. And I think there's only like 2 games on Easter Monday, so I think a lot of people might be listening Monday as well.
Tuesday's pretty.
Tuesday's packed.
Yeah,
Tuesday's a ton of games Tuesday. Yeah, a ton of games Tuesday. But as always, Ben and I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we'll see you next week.